take you into just a short passage. It's just a few verses today. Let's look at it together right now. It's the first passage in your notes. It says, love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. So I want to take you into the middle of that passage, and through the summer we'll probably highlight some different areas in this passage, maybe even some others like the one from last week from 1 Peter. But where we want to go today ultimately is in the middle of this verse where it says, honor one another above yourselves. Everybody say that with me. Honor one another above yourselves. I couldn't help but, as I was reading and rereading these few verses toward the end of the week this week, notice something that I thought was particularly interesting to me. How many of you know when you read God's word, there are times where God speaks to you maybe through a passage that you've read many times, but it spoke to you different when you read it? How many of you have had that experience before? Sure, most of us have that spend time in God's word. Look at the first few sentences, if you will, in this passage. The first one says, love must be sincere. And then skip a phrase, and then it says, be devoted to one another in love. Do you see those two phrases? It's interesting because of their similarity. It's talking about a love that has a sincerity and a depth to it that's not just surface or superficial. And then he says, be devoted. Make this a devotion, a commitment of your life to love one another, be devoted to one another in love. Sandwich, if you will, in the middle of that is the phrase, hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Now, I'm always looking for, and I think it's really important that every one of us do this, that when we're reading the Bible, we want to read for context, don't we? You know what I mean by that? Not what does just this verse say, but what is it saying around it so that we can understand more succinctly what he is saying, more clearly what he is saying in what he says. So in the middle of the two verses about loving one another and being devoted to one another is the phrase, hate what is evil, cling to what is good. I believe that he is speaking to us about our relationships, about our love relationship within the community of faith. And when he says hate what is evil, he is speaking a very strong word. Hate is a strong word. He's saying, look, there are things that create disharmony, that create disunity. There is discord, there is strife, there is anger, there is bitterness. There are all sorts of things that can come into community. And he says, you need to develop a holy hatred for those things. Don't let them into your heart. Don't let them into your mind and your thought processes. And then it's an interesting choice of words when he says, cling to what is good. I don't know about you, but when I have to cling to something, it might speak to the possibility that it's something that could slip away. I'm not a huge fisherman, but I went fishing a couple of years ago in Alaska with a group of pastors. We had an amazing time, and I learned all over again something I knew from my childhood is that fish can be slippery. And if you're going to, come on, fishermen, right? And they can slip away. So what is he saying here without drawing the fish analogy any further out, all right? Cling to what is good. He is saying that there are some things that you should really value that it requires you to hold on to them. Unity, our love, our care for each other, our concern for each other, that these are things that we hold on to, that we cling to. I thought that was interesting. Maybe we'll go a little deeper in that later in the summer. So let's, just like I promised you last week that I would, I'm going to go back and tie up the loose ends from last week. I'm going to finish today. That way we'll be right back on track with your notes each week. So we're going to end the morning in the passage where he says, love or honor one another above yourselves. I want to start, though, with a few things that I want to give you that really, I believe, have to do with building your community. So when we talk about community, last week we talked about our community as a family, as a church family, a Christian community. I think I may have said this, but I want to make sure it's clear. Community can be a lot of things in our life. There are community groups that are looking to do really good and noble things in our community, and they're not just by definition community groups, but they're a group of people in community. It may be for you, it may be related around a sporting activity that you enjoy, that another group of people enjoy, and these are people that you're doing life with in that area. A whole lot of really good things can be a part of our community. By definition, community is the combination of the two words common and unity. Common meaning that there's a group of people here that have a common interest or values or goals, and they are working together in unity for the collective benefit of that group, that they're a community. So it emphasizes the idea of mutual support and just that sense of belonging. So let me give you a quick thought or two about community. Here's the first one. When it comes to building your community, not just our community as a church family, but in your own personal life, all of us have one community that we didn't choose. What is that? That's our family, right? And so we have to navigate that. And how many of you would say sometimes that can be tricky, right? But that's community, and a lot of the principles, especially the principles of honor that I want to give you in a few minutes, really can incredibly, they can be applied in a great way to your family. Beyond that, all of us have other communities that we're a part of. I believe as a pastor that it's extremely important that we prioritize those communities, all of the ones that make up our network, if you will, our community. So it's really, who am I in this place of common unity with? And here are the four thoughts I want to give you. The first one is this: be ruthlessly intentional about your relational community. And I do understand that ruthless is a strong word. Some of y'all are like, ruthless? You look up the synonyms of ruthless, and there's some pretty strong language there. But I think it's appropriate. I think it's right. Because is it just me, or are there a lot of things trying to pull at your time? There's a lot of things wanting to make a demand of you. Hey, you should be a part of this. We need you to be a part of that. And it's someone's community. It's someone's call to, we have this interest in common, and maybe we can make a difference, or maybe we can have a good time, or maybe, and there's all kinds of calls for our time. We have to make the decision to be intentional about our relational community. Proverbs 27:17, it's in your notes, it says this: a mirror reflects a man's face. What is it saying? He's saying your outward image is going to be reflected in a mirror. It's going to reflect the outward image. But who you really are, what you're really like, is going to be shown. And again, language is so important. Is it going to be shown by the kind of friends you have, or the kinds of friends you choose? Choose. Community, the kind of community that you choose. So if you say, I don't like where I am right now, choose different. Choose something stronger. Choose something better. Begin to develop that community in your life. Because here's the truth. If we were unlimited in terms of time, if we were unlimited in terms of physical energy and emotional energy and what we're capable of, if there were no limitations on those things, then maybe it would be all well and good to be a part of anything that we felt like was good or helpful in some way. But the fact is that every one of us are limited. Every one of us are finite. We only have so much capacity. We only have so much of ourselves that we can give. And so as believers in the room, we recognize, hey, this isn't even entirely up to me. God has a vote in this, and when it comes right down to it, he has the only vote that counts. So the community that I build has to be prioritized. around things that allow the very best of me to go to the things that he would say should be first and have the highest value in my life. Really, I like to say it this way. What you say no to is really as important as what you say yes to. A lot of times the things that you have said yes to will define what you have to say no to, that maybe you really feel like, I should have really done that. I should have really been a part of that, but I had nothing left. I really didn't have anything left. So only you can make these decisions in relation to the Holy Spirit. So become ruthlessly intentional about your community. Second, be selflessly restorative when relationship is broken. Be selflessly restorative. I'm not just restorative. I'm going to enter into a relationship that has become tense, a relationship that has become difficult, with a predisposition of saying, this isn't about me. This is about what do you want from this relationship? And most importantly, what do you want from me? Because I can't control them. I can only control me. And so I choose to, apart from myself, I choose to be restorative. Romans 12, 17 and 18 says, do not repay anyone evil for evil. Anyone means anyone. And so we don't get to say, well, they really deserved it. If you just knew, they really deserved it. No. Paul is saying to us here, no, we just don't repay evil for evil. So it's not about you. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So how do I do this? It's probably uniquely defined by each relationship. But we recognize, hey, when it comes to community around me, I want to be someone who is restorative. Let me say it like this. I don't want to be someone who lives my life with a bunch of grudges, right? I don't want to live offended with people. I don't want to live, right? We weren't made to carry this stuff. You know that? You weren't, whatever that is in your life, I want to encourage you as you say, hey, community is important to me. I wasn't made to carry that stuff, so I want to become selflessly restorative. I was talking to someone in the hall about this message between services. Y'all always have the advantage of a little bit of feedback that I get between services. And I was talking, they were telling me how much they needed the message, how much it helped them. And I said, hey, you have no idea how much I needed it. And I said it like this. I said, I've done some repenting over the last few days leading up to them. I have the advantage of hearing the message before you do. So I get to go ahead and repent in advance. So let me encourage you as I have and as I do encourage myself in this, because there's been times in my life where I needed this. I needed it desperately. And I understood the principle, and so I understand if you're saying, hey, you're a pastor, you don't get how hard this is. Trust me, I do. I really do. But I think that community in the future and my ability to give myself openly and authentically to others means that I want to have a predisposition of being selflessly restorative when relationship is broken, right? So that's the kind of people we want to be. It has to do with honor. We'll talk about that more in a few minutes. Here's the third one. Become brutally honest about relationships that are harmful. Become brutally honest. And y'all, I realized, again, tough language. I use the word ruthless. Now I'm talking about brutally honest. I think that sometimes being honest with ourselves is one of the last things that we do. And we can look at other people's lives and we know real quick what to do to fix them. Am I right? But then sometimes there are things that we're not willing to deal with in ourselves. So become brutally honest about relationships that are harmful. 2 Corinthians 6:14. Again, very strong language, and I want to remind you, just in case you wondered, I didn't write the book. I'm only telling you what it says. Okay? I'm just the messenger delivering the message. 2 Corinthians 6:14. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. Yoked is a strong word. I won't go into that. But here's what I want you to see is the two comparisons that are made right here. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in, come on, say it, common? what community do wickedness and godliness or righteousness have? Is there any common unity to them? Is there community in that? Or what fellowship? Again, a very clear word, speaking of unity and many other things. What fellowship can light have with darkness? So quick, let me be practical with this. When I say become brutally honest about relationships that are harmful to what? What do I mean? Harmful to your community, harmful to the relationships around you, that as a believer you begin to prioritize up. What does God want? What are his priorities in my life? So let me make it super practical for you. If you look at a relationship in your life and you say, this isn't good for my marriage, but this was my buddy going all the way back to elementary school, and we've known each other all of our life. What you gonna do? He's dishonoring to my marriage because of things he's been through in his own relational life, and it's not good for my marriage. But okay, you've got to become brutally honest about a harmful relationship. That's just one example. You can the broader look at this would be to say, hey, I'm prioritizing God's family and community, recognizing that the best of everything else flows from that. So what is really harmful to me engaging? And it may be something that stands in the way of your time. It may be some things that stand in the way of you having the resources to commit to the family of God and to being generous and opening your heart. Whatever it is, you've got to recognize these things stand in the way of me prioritizing what I know God would have first in my life. And so you have to begin then to make some really difficult choices surrounding those things. Here's the fourth one. Here's the fourth one. Become proactive in pursuing meaningful relationships. Become proactive in pursuing meaningful relationships. So it always touches my heart, but then at the same time, it can kind of concern me a little bit when someone that's been a part of our family as a church family says, hey, I've been at Celebration for a while, but I haven't gotten connected. And maybe at that point, it's something that's negative for them. And I understand that happens. There's not a perfect church. It's the kind of thing that can happen. But can I tell you that the majority of the times, perhaps the vast majority of the times, what has happened is there wasn't intentionality. There wasn't, to use this word, proactivity. You know what I mean by proactive? That you choose to engage, that you choose to say, these are going to be meaningful relationships in my life. This is important. It's not always easy. It may take some work. For some of you, relationships are effortless, but for the majority of people, they're not. They take some really practical steps and some really practical willingness to be engaging and reaching beyond ourselves to really make a connection. So I want to encourage you in building your community, become proactive. Begin to recognize, or a better word would be to identify, what are some meaningful relationships I need in my life? Maybe for some, it's an area of mentorship that you need. For some, it's an area where you feel like, hey, I've got a lot to give here, but I have no outlet for it. I need a place for this meaning, this purpose to come out. So look at what Hebrews 10:25 says, and we'll jump to honor. It says this, let us, who's he talking about? A family of believers. Let us, as believers, not give up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another. Encourage. Encourage is such a powerful word. I'm going to get to it just a little bit later to talk about encouragement or encouraging a little bit more. But let us encourage one another, and all the more as we see the day, capital D, the day of the Lord, the end is near. You remember that from 1 Peter last week? It sounded so ominous. But he says, hey, as you see things the separation between light and darkness. You see the struggle and the difficulty in the world. That's a point where you double down on being connected to community. Do it all the more as you see the day approaching. So let's talk about choosing honor. It's going to be the second of our choices this summer, choosing honor. Let's talk about for a moment, what does the word mean? What does the word honor mean? It's an interesting word. It's not one that if you were put on the spot and someone said, okay, what does honor mean? You'd have an idea maybe in your head. It might be a little difficult just to define. And I think if you're like me, you would probably kind of want to define it in a way where you would say, well, it's when you get someone, you pull them aside and you say, hey, I just want to take a minute and honor you. And you just say nice things to them. And maybe they're sincerely nice things, but it's honoring. I want to kind of maybe at the very least expand our thoughts about honor and for us to see it in a different way. So here's what the word literally means. It means to evaluate something by value and then to respond accordingly. To make an evaluation of the worth. Let's say it like this. If I held in my hand and I understood both of these items, let's say I had a piece of lead pipe about yay long, a few inches long. I had that in this hand, and very common piece of lead pipe that you could find anywhere on a construction site or in a hardware store. And in the other hand, I had a similar size bar of gold, like real gold. Solid gold. And I'm holding those in my hands. I would evaluate the worth of the lead pipe and just cast it to the side, right? Common, it's nothing. That bar of gold, that bad boy is going up on the shelf, in the safe, in the house, right? Why? Because I evaluated the worth and I honored it. I held it. So when it comes to honor in the community of believers, and when Paul says honor one another above yourselves at a very basic level, it says evaluate the worth and respond accordingly. So Scripture speaks to us about honoring a lot of things. It's really not a huge list. There's Scripture. You go to the end of the Bible in Revelation, it talks about honoring God, and it says of God that He is worthy. If you know Revelation, you know the end of this verse. He is worthy of how much honor? All honor, worthy of all honor. Well, I don't have all the honor, so how do I honor a God who is worthy of all of it? I look at what I have, and I say, God, everything that I have is yours because you're worthy of it all. So on a very practical level, we talk about time, talent, and resources. So we recognize with our time, God, I have 168 hours in the week. You're going to get the very best of my week. I honor you. There's not any ifs, ands, and buts about it. I'm not going to let something stand in the way. You get the best of me. And I'm not saying by that God is looking to condemn you. If you, it's a heart thing. It's a relationship. But He gets the best when it comes to our talent, our ability. We say, God, I'm putting you first. You want me to go on the mission trip? You want me to serve? You want me to give of myself? You want me to be involved in the church? I'm going to give the very best of me, and I'm going to. So you get the best. You own it all. The talent didn't come from me. The gift didn't come from me. It's not mine. It's all yours. I'm going to use it for you. When it comes to our resources, this is the reason. Honor. I want you to hear this because I never talk about this. I never talk about it. You're getting ready to hear something you've rarely ever heard me mention. So if you're here all the time, sit up. You might want, I mean that politely. I don't mean that in any, that didn't sound right. Listen, honor is the reason that many of us in this room tithe. Now, tithing has taken a really bad rap by some people. They immediately point to it and say it just was under the law. So Christians don't have to tithe because that just was under the law in the Old Testament. Can I tell you, first of all, that and I'm not going off on tithing here, but for like maybe 30, 40 seconds more. Those of us that do it, I don't know if anyone else doesn't do it for this reason, then I don't know everyone's motivation. I know for Angela and me, we do it out of honor to God. And the way we look at it is, we say, Lord, you own it all. You are worthy of it all. So we will take the very first of what we have, and we will honor you with it. And we do that every month. We honor the Lord with the first of everything that we have. We give him first. And we look at it as a thing of honor, not a thing of God is hammering us to do it. Generosity then follows that. So some people in our culture today will say things like, well, God just wants us to be generous. It's missing the point. We should be generous. I want to be generous with the rest of what I have, recognizing it is all from the Lord. He gave me all of it, and he gave me enough to be able to bless somebody else and be generous to somebody else. So I don't want to be stingy ever. I want to be generous, but giving to the Lord first of my resources is a matter of honor. I honor him. It's all his. That was a little longer than 40 seconds, sorry. It was important. It came here on the subject of honoring God. Scripture talks about honoring marriage. It was interesting to me that the 4 or 5 things that Scripture says to honor, we live in a culture of 100% dishonor. People don't honor God. People don't honor marriage. People don't honor father and mother. People don't honor authority. All the things that Scripture says to honor, we live in a world that is totally counter to that. I would say to every parent, be careful, because that's the culture that our families are being raised in today. And you've got to be aware. You've got to be astute to what is happening around us, because we live in a culture of contempt, a culture of anger, a culture of dishonor, when Scripture calls us to honor. So honor has a transformational power when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to unity, when it comes to helping us live in the way of Jesus, living like him, like he wants us to live. So we circle back to Romans 12:10. I'll give you a few principles from there. Be devoted to one another in love. Everybody finish it with me. Honor one another above yourselves. Honor one another above yourselves. So we owe. Scripture gives this as a command. We owe one another this honor. Well, when they act worthy of honor, I'll honor them. Not what the Bible says. Well, on what basis? Well, I'm getting ready to tell you. We're pre-wired. And again, I think this falls into the whole cling to what is good. When we open God's Word and it says something we don't like, we need to hold all the tighter to it, even if it's something we don't like, because we say, God, there's something in this that when I mine this out and I understand this is going to be really helpful to my life. So he says, honor one another above yourselves. We owe one another honor. I like a couple of other versions. I'll give them to you real quick. In the ESV version, it says, outdo one another in showing honor. It just means that my honor to you does not hinge upon anything that I would define as honor to me. I honor you, and I would like to do my best to outdo you in honor. Anticipate one another in showing honor. Anticipate. What does anticipate mean? I'm going to think in advance of you. I'm going to be in this meeting. I'm going to be in this small group. I've got a leader that probably had about as busy a day as me. I might call him up and say, hey, is there anything you need help with that I can bring? What is that? That's just honoring, right? It's just an honoring kind of a thing. So that's a simple and a basic level, but it's honoring. I'm anticipating an opportunity to honor. Honor is given on the basis of who people are, not what they have earned, or even what they need. Again, we might think, oh, well, I'm really good at honoring people who are in need. I really think they deserve more honor. Not according to the Bible. We kind of fool ourselves and kind of play little games that way sometimes, don't we? Oh, well, I'm going to honor this person because they're in a position of authority and they deserve greater honor. Not according to the Bible. Okay, I'm going to give you the principle in just a minute. I jumped a little ahead of myself. Let's get some principles of honor real quick as we go. Here's the first one. Honor is a way of life that reflects our reverence for God and our respect for His creation. It is a way of life. It is not something I do. It's somebody I am. And when that is true, it becomes this choice I make to simply acknowledge the worth or the dignity or the glory of God, the goodness and the greatness of God that is in a person just because God is the one who gave them life, right? He is their creator. You say, I know some people, I'm not sure if God created them or not. He did. He did. And I would see them and kind of semi-agree with you just for a moment, but the fact is, He did. He did. And so it becomes a way of life for us that we become honoring. I like this way of saying it. We honor up. We do honor in authority, right? We honor down. We never look and say someone is beneath us. They're beneath our honor. They're not worthy of us. They're bless their little hearts. No. We honor down and we honor, come on, say it with me, all around. That honor becomes something, you can look up the passage on your own in Matthew 10, 40 through 42, but it speaks to this principle of honoring and reward, and that really none of us have the option of saying, well, this is primarily the way I honor. I don't really honor up because, people in authority, they just need some people just to put them in their place. No, they don't. You're not called to that. That's not your job. Well, my boss, if you just knew my boss, he's just not worthy of honor. Well, that's not what the Bible says. Oh, that got so quiet, I've got to go there just for a minute. Really, Pastor? What is it that makes them worthy of honor? Well, Scripture's saying honor those who are in authority, makes them worthy of honor. Y'all are just like the first service. That's good news. So let me help you just for a minute. I didn't plan this. When it comes to people who are in authority over you, whether it's workplace, whether it's family structure, whether it's in a church environment, and I'm not just speaking of myself, I'm talking about a dream team leader or any structure in your life where there's someone who is in a position of authority. Here's our rule. Here's a rule of life that if you will apply it in your life, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, I promise you'll be in a more healthy place. Wherever you find yourself under a place of authority, unless that authority figure tells you to do something illegal, immoral, or unethical, then you submit to their authority whether you like them or not. This is a lost principle in our culture. Well, I'll honor them if they're worthy of honor. No. Their authority came from God. You say, well, if you just knew my father. No. God did know your father, and He put you in the family that you were in, regardless of how broken or dysfunctional it might have been. So God put you there. So you recognize, unless I'm put in a position where I'm called on to do something illegal, immoral, or unethical, then my best life is submitting to authority. Oh, I'm glad 7 of y'all agree with me on that. Now, it doesn't mean there aren't times, and you should pray about these things. You're like, God, I haven't been asked to do anything immoral or unethical or illegal in my job, but I just don't know that I should be under this authority. God might remove you out from under that authority, but until He does, when you submit to them, you're submitting to Him. When you submit to them, you're submitting to Him. Y'all aren't really getting excited about that, but there's a whole lot of truth in that. I've got to move on. I'd like to spend more time there. When you honor people, we're going to honor up, we're going to honor down, we're going to honor all around, okay? So we honor for 3 reasons. The first 2, every single human being on the planet, it's true of them. Every person is made in the image of God. Every person has gifts planted in them by God. Every person. Whether they're a believer or not, whether they know Jesus yet, whether they love him or not, those two things are true of them. The third is true of those in your church family, in your church community. God's presence rests upon them. It's the reason we honor. You say, well, they weren't very nice to me. You know what? We humans can be like that. I promise you, I've thought about it in context of this message because I've been evaluating where I honor well, where I don't honor well. And can I tell you that honoring well isn't the same thing as being nice? It's not the same thing as being nice. I could stand to be a lot nicer at times, and I'm being honest. This is a different matter. Honor becomes an issue that God is interested in our life in a very profound way. So we honor one another. We take it away from our own personal evaluation, and we determine the worth under God. God, you created this person. God, you placed in a gift in them. I have yet to find it, but you have placed a gift in them. And I honor them. Don't you see how this could go a long way in your relationships? I do. So it's the heart of God for us. It's the heart of his word for us. So here's what honor does. Honor values who a person is without stumbling over who they're not. That's a good way to hear it. It's a good way to remember it. Honor says, God, you know those people I work with. You know the ones that at a pure level, they're just impossible to be around. Come on, anybody got somebody like that? Staff, don't raise your hand. Right? How many of you have somebody like, well, you don't have to raise your hand at all. It's like this could be recorded and someone could see that. God, they're difficult, but God, I will honor them because they were created in your image. So that means I'm going to look for a way to prefer them. I'm going to look for a way to put them first. I promise you this is helpful in our relationships. It's scriptural, and as we build community around it, it's incredibly wonderful in terms of its impact on community. Here's the next one. We nurture honor in an atmosphere of encouragement. I told you I'd circle back to encouragement. And I want to begin to close. There's a couple of scriptures and one more thought left. But let's just kind of call this the beginning of the close. Encouragement. Honor works best. It's nurtured in an atmosphere of encouragement. To understand this, I need to take you just a little deeper into the Word. So encouragement, we can, on a surface level, think of encouragement as, oh, I'm going to be nice to everybody, and I'm just going to be encouraging to people, and I'm going to go to church and intentionally, or work, or wherever, and I'm going to say, oh, that outfit looks so good on you. Oh, that's so encouraging. Thank you. Those shoes, that's my next pair of shoes right there. I love those shoes. And that person feels better about themselves. And again, we can, on a very surface level, think that encouragement is nothing more than trying to help a person feel good about themselves. But can I tell you that community encouragement, biblical encouragement, and by the way, those shoes do look great on you, okay? Not going to be my next pair of shoes, but they look awesome. Real encouragement, scriptural encouragement in the community. The word encourage, think about it from an opposite standpoint, discourage. En means to put into. Enable would be to put the ability into it, to enable something, to put in. Encourage is to put in what? Courage. I don't think we do enough of this. To really, if we really contemplate the worth of every person around us and the potential in the world that we live in for discouragement, let me assure you, there's not one person in this room that needs you to set them straight, to put them in order, to tell them how it is, and if you had 5 minutes with them, you could straighten them out. Life is taking care of that all by itself. life is hard, and no matter how much we want to come in here and be like we're not really needy and we're not that, and that's mostly, I don't know, I shouldn't say it's mostly healthy, but it's certainly, we don't want to run around needy all the time, right? But let me tell you what the fact is. Every one of us, just on the basis of the cruel, wicked world we live in, we operate at a deficit. That only one thing can whisper and breathe life over, and that is encouragement that comes from God. I see God's hand on you. I've watched as the Lord has worked in your life over the years, and I know that God has put a gift in you that is hidden there right now, but you just wait. God has so much for you. Man, I literally watched both services when we sang that part of the song that says, that part about you're not finished with me yet. Y'all remember it, don't you? You know why? Because of what happened in your heart when you looked at a screen and you just entertained the possibility, God, you're not finished with us yet. God, I came in here a little discouraged about this or that or what's going on at work or going on in my marriage or whatever. But I'm encouraged, God. You breathed life over me again. Do you know that we have that ability? Did you know that you and you and you and you, we have the ability to encourage? Look at what Scripture says. But the one who prophesies, and that sounds, good night. If anything's been abused, and a lot of things have been in the church, that's been abused. It's like it's just this very few people who can stand and prophesy. This is just a gift that the Holy Spirit gave to the family to be used in the family. It's not real spooky. So those who just kind of speak forth into the future, into someone's, speak forward is the definition, to speak forward. That's when I say things to you or others say things to you like, that was a really sorry decision you made. You're some kind of bum and scoundrel. They're speaking to your past. But when someone speaks to your future, they speak forward. They say, God's not done with you yet. I've seen you. I've watched you. I see God's hand on your life, His presence on you. He's not finished. He wants to use you. Right? It's encouragement. When you do this, you speak to people for their strengthening, filling them with courage, their encouragement, and their comfort. Some of y'all were so comforted by, really, God, you're not finished with me yet? That's right, He's not finished with you yet. Whew, thank you, Lord. Right? I love one of the verses, Isaiah 61, and I'll close. I'll give you the final thought right after this. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me to heal who? The brokenhearted. We immediately would go to things like specific situations that would, they have a broken heart over this. Maybe the loss of a loved one, maybe the loss of a relationship, maybe some other things that could break a heart. Here's the fact. Every one of us are broken people. We may not wear our brokenness on our sleeve, but it just, by definition, the word simply means fragmented. And the Lord came and He placed the same anointing, because He's the one who said, these things that I did, what are you going to do? You're going to do the same thing like I did, but just even more, even greater. Do you know that? Did you know that? Scripture says that there's a ministry on you to help bring courage to people who are fragmented. Can I say it one more time? The world does a good enough job all by itself of beating us up. We need to put courage in one another. And it's a whole lot more. I almost said a whole heck of a lot more, but I don't normally say that when I preach. It's a whole lot more than just being nice. It really falls in a different category than just nice. It is something that the Holy Spirit puts down in the heart of any single one of you as a believer. To say, Lord, I'm going to church today, and I'm going to anticipate the opportunity to honor someone by speaking forward into their life and into their future and encouraging them, filling them, putting into them courage. And it is a matter of honor. If you will take that one thing to heart, you will never, ever, ever again be able to just show up for a service and leave. Right? You have to pull up in the parking lot and say, Lord, is there going to be an opportunity for me to encourage someone today? Are y'all hearing me? Are you hearing me? God, am I going to be able to do more than say to someone their shoes are nice today? Lord, would you just show me? Because I'm not going to just run around the church. People think I'm weird if I'm going around all the time just, So Lord, would you just speak to me and just so that I can go to someone and say, hey, I just want to encourage you today. I've been watching you for the last few months. I've seen God's hand on you. I see how you're changing and how you're growing. I'm so thankful for you and so blessed by you. I just want to encourage you. It becomes a matter of honor. So in the end, this is the truth. When we see and call out a God-given gift in someone, we're really forming a foundation for honor. And finally, a culture of honor is ultimately just a place, it's just a culture of grace, of freedom, and of healing. Honor says, I value you first as a creation of God, created in His image. And I always want to treat you first and foremost that way. And I'm going to do it upline, and I'm going to do it downline, and I'm going to do it all around. I'm just going to be someone who as a way of life honors. Close your eyes with me. Lord, I thank you today that right now, Lord, I've done my very best to bring this word. I'm asking that right now that you cause it to saturate into the hearts of people who would get up and go to work tomorrow, some of whom will lead people, and the vast majority of people in their life are downline from them. They're the boss. They're the leader. They're the manager. They're the owner. There are others who will go to a place and they are like brand new on the totem pole. They are at the bottom rung of the ladder. There are others that feel very comfortable in their environments, and most of the people they interact with are at a pure level. But Lord, let every one of us, when we get up in the morning, we're preparing for our day, look ourselves in the mirror and say, Lord, I want to be someone who honors people around me because they are your creation and because you've put something inside them that there's a possibility that it may just be my encouragement that brings that hidden bar of gold out, that brings out the worth and the value that you planted in them from the moment they were conceived. God, I speak over any person in this room right now who just a simple word of encouragement from me today would help them. Lord, I speak life and courage over them. I speak over them that they are enough. With your hand on their life, Lord, in their workplace, in their family, I speak to mothers right now that feel like they can't do it, they can't go on, and that they don't have what it takes. Lord, I breathe and I whisper and I even just shout out courage over them right now. Lord, over the leader in our community, the leader in business, or whatever environment that they find themselves in, God, I just speak encouragement over them that they're difference makers because of your hand on their lives, that they don't have to see people the way other people around them see people, that they can define up their community through honor. We ask you to help us, Lord. This word, powerful in building relationships and building unity, and most importantly, helping us walk in the way of Jesus. We receive it in our hearts today in Jesus' name.